Simon up in Portland, he said, in a year that seems wide open as of now, which teams have the most to prove in 2025? All right, so I thought LSU immediately when I saw this question. Brian Kelly's in year 4, and if you look at the records, they've won 10 wins, 9 wins, but it still feels like kind of a prove-it year for them because defensively you were so bad you sort of wasted away the Jaden Daniels year, and now we get to this year where you're 2 years into a new defensive staff, so you should see big improvement, and I expect it. And you've got Garrett Nussmeier, who is a proven returning quarterback in a conference full of question marks at quarterback, and you haven't made the playoff under Brian Kelly yet. They need to do that this year. So I would say LSU has something to prove. I'd say they've got the 5th best odds in the conference, but they're really tied with Ole Miss, so they're tied for 4th best odds in the conference. If that's the way the SEC shakes out, then LSU's, have they underachieved there? Probably, yeah. I got high standards for them this year. Miami's they still got something to prove. You know, Miami's gone from 5-7 to 7-5 to 10-2. Those are regular season records. That's what they've done under Mario. 5 wins to 7 wins to 10 wins. So that's progress, linear progress. You look at the roster, certainly there's progress. The players down there look way different than they did when he first got there. They haven't had their arrival moment, like on the big major scene. They almost had it last year. Defense wasn't good enough. It let them down. So they went and got Carson Beck out of the transfer portal. Carson Beck at his best is good enough to take Miami to the playoff if the other side of the ball fulfills its end of the bargain. And that's where you should be in year 4 under Mario Cristobal, who's a guy who's known for accumulating talent, which they've been doing. They ought to be a playoff contender this year, and they've still got that to prove. So I'd say them. I'd say Penn State. Now, Penn State's in a little different category here. Penn State perennially has been way up there. They've been the best of the very good. They have not been elite. So they don't have anything to prove in terms of, are they a high-caliber program? None of that. Yes, they're a top 10 program. So they're not trying to validate their existence like that. But the question around them has always been, is your ceiling just very good? And I've believed it is as long as they don't upgrade at wide receiver. But then they went and upgraded at wide receiver. And they went and got one of, if not the best defensive coordinators in the country as well. But really, it's the pass catchers that have me excited. Penn State's been good enough defensively. They've been able to run the ball. They've got returning experience at quarterback. The program's been very solid. But if they're ever going to prove that that ceiling is above and beyond just very good, this is the year they've got to do that. And they are very close to having the best odds to win the Big Ten. They're ahead of Oregon. They're right there behind Ohio State. I'd pick Penn State above Ohio State. If I had to handicap that conference today, I think Penn State goes to Columbus, and that probably has a lot to do with that. And if they played them again, it would be neutral site. But I mean, if it's going to happen, I feel like that's got to happen this year for them. And Alabama also has a lot to prove. Different kind of dynamic there. Hey, quick timeout. Check and see if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you're not, I humbly ask that you click subscribe. It's free. It doesn't sign you up for anything. What it does is it helps us keep this show free so we can just do college football year-round. All right, back to the clip. DeBoer came in last year. Kalen DeBoer came in last year, and you could very much categorize 2024 as sort of it was what it was. Fell off towards the end. Inexplicably ugly losses to Vanderbilt and then Oklahoma, I think, was the big sledgehammer to the face. But if you go out and get the offensive coordinator that you originally wanted, and you just did that in Ryan Grubb, and you've got a guy in Ty Simpson who is a program guy. Nation doesn't know him yet, but he's a former blue-chip quarterback who's waited his turn. You, Kalen DeBoer, and this offensive staff should pride yourself on getting the absolute most possible out of those kinds of guys. If that is the dynamic there, they'll win with him at quarterback this year because they've got a loaded wide receiver room. They've got what they consider to be 4 returning offensive linemen. They should be able to run the ball better than they did last year. And that secondary could be the best one in the conference. So that above and beyond just having a lot of guys who came back, I think they got a lot to prove this year. I'd be really disappointed if Bama wasn't a prime contender for the conference title and a prime playoff team. Like, I'd be disappointed if they weren't that. They got the third best odds to win the conference right now. We'll see how it goes.